Hey everybody, this is Wendy. Excited you're here today joining me. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I love all things paper crafty. So today we're going to do some coloring using Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers. Say that 5 times fast. We're also going to use the awesome seasonal Chums and seasonal tags products from Stampin' Up! These are my markers. I have a set of 48. A friend, fellow demonstrator and friend got these for me, Katina Martinez. Ignore my dogs. Sorry about that. These markers, I took a little label and colored on the top of them so that I would know the color in the box. And I just leave them in the box. Okay, I have pre-stamped all of these tags using the basic black archival ink from Stampin' Up! And now I'm doing my coloring. This is sped up 4 times the regular speed because it took me a long time to color all of these, and I didn't think you would want to watch that. So this is definitely sped up faster. As you can see, I'm using 2 colors here. I've got kind of a light orangey brown and then a darker orangey brown, and that's what I'm using to do my shading. So let's talk about the tips for using these markers and how you can get these really cool shaded looks using them. The first thing to know is that I am not using Stampin' Up! Whisper White cardstock. I use Stampin' Up! Whisper White cardstock basically for everything that I do except for some of my coloring. So for using these markers, I'm using Bristol cardstock, which can be found at any local box store. You can order it on, I think you can even get it at Walmart. You can order it online. I will link to it below this video in my description, and I will also link to it over on my blog. I personally just get it off of Amazon because I love Amazon. If you don't know this, I live pretty rural, and so for me, it's just easier to order stuff off of Amazon. I have Amazon Prime, so everything just comes straight to my house, and the shipping is free on most things. I love Amazon Prime. So I am now using black to color the hooves. So let me tell you a little story about these markers. The tip of excuse me, the tip of them are brushes. They are like a real paintbrush, and the ink flows out very liberally, and it's beautiful. And the thing about these markers is that they are actually quite tricky to use unless you're using this paper. So the Bristol paper, for whatever reason, works tremendously on these markers. I guess I shouldn't say on these, with them. If you use regular watercolor paper, it just soaks the marker up so quickly that it makes it really hard to blend. And you have to use an aqua painter to get your blending going. So my suggestion is to purchase this paper if you're going to use these markers. So you could see here I'm changing the color a little bit of this little deer by going with a darker brown in my shaded areas. I'm acting as though the light source is coming from the right hand side, and so my darker areas are on the left, and then when I turn it around I will do the same thing except opposite. So I'm shading on my right because it's like the back of him would have light coming from the other way, if that makes sense. So you can see here, you could leave that really harsh line if you wanted to, but I use the other marker to blend it out. So it ends up kind of changing the color of what you're doing, but the shading still looks really good. The cool thing about these markers is that you get this watercolor look without having a bunch of messy watercolors out. So that's kind of cool. They are a little more controlled, so you're not getting as much of a watercolor look, but it's still this really cool, soft coloring look. Okay, so first tip is the paper. Gotta have this paper to use these markers, in my humble opinion, unless you're like an expert colorist and watercolorist and you can use anything like Sandy Allnock, then by all means, do whatever you want. But if you're like me and you're novice / intermediate, somewhere in between there, then I highly recommend having this paper. Okay, the second tip I have for this is you want to work fairly quickly. And when I say that, I don't mean like so fast that you, at a reasonable pace is what I'm trying to say. If you want to do shading, you're going to need to work fairly quickly, because if the marker dries, it is harder to get blending happening. So it's not impossible. You can go back and blend, but you're going to have a little bit harsher lines. So my recommendation is to definitely do all your solid coloring like I'm doing right now first, then go in and do stuff that needs to be blended. You don't want to take a break in between. Like for this snowman, I'm not worrying about doing any blending on his scarf or on him. I'm going to do a little bit of blending on his hat. And the reason I'm not worrying about that is because it's such a tiny detail, you're really not going to see the blending. So I just didn't feel like it was necessary. The colors of these markers are on the side of the marker, and they're also numbered. I'm not really sharing any of that here because you can just kind of see the colors I'm coloring with. And truthfully, you would have to color with these to get comfortable with them and know what you're going to like. So here you can see that I put down the lightest color all the way across first to kind of moisten the paper, and then I added the darker color, and there you saw me wipe the brush off. Sometimes you'll pick up a darker color on a lighter brush, and you just kind of need to wipe off your brush in order to clean it and make sure that you're not getting mixed color on the tip of your brush. I'm just adding a few shadows here on the snowman to give him a little bit more of a rounded look. I'm not being very heavy-handed. This color kind of reminds me of the equivalent color of Smoky Slate, Stampin' Up Smoky Slate. And so that's it for that snowman. Now this snowman, I decided I wanted to go really crazy and make him a rainbow scarf. So I'm taking my Roy G. Biv's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then violet or purple, and creating my scarf. And I'm just repeating the pattern over and over and over until I get this really cool rainbow scarf effect. I seriously love coloring. I don't know if any of you do, and I have been asked in the last month why I'm doing more stuff that's not Stampin' Up product, and I've also been asked if I'm leaving Stampin' Up. So let me just put all that to rest. I am not leaving Stampin' Up. I love Stampin' Up, and I am using other product because I love coloring, and Stampin' Up cannot manufacture everything that's out there. It's just impossible. So just like you like to shop at different grocery stores possibly, or different clothing stores, you may not get all your clothes at the same store or all of your groceries at the same store, or you might not get gas at the same gas station all the time. It's no different for people who love doing this craft. I do this because I love it. It's part of my soul. And so by not being true to who I am, I feel like I'm not being honest with you, if that makes sense. I don't want to be a person who pretends like Stampin' Up is the end-all be-all of every paper crafting thing on the market. There are some people that feel that way and think that that's how you should run a business, or they think that that's how, you know, like I would be less successful of a demonstrator because I do this, because I share other products. That's okay. Even if I am less successful, I would rather be less successful as a Stampin' Up demonstrator and more successful as a creator and an artist. Does that make sense? So I don't believe that you learn how to get really great at something by putting yourself in a box. I think you have to experience a lot of different things and try a lot of different things to know what works. And my hope and prayer is always that Stampin' Up! Is going to add like all kinds of stuff so that I can share it and sell it. But they can't manufacture everything. I know that. That's not realistic. So we leave, you know, I feel like you leave certain things to the experts that make them. Like these brushes, Kiritaki makes these markers, and they're the expert in this department. They make the coolest pens and markers ever. So why not leave it up to Kiritaki? All right, so I finished my tags. Now this this video and blog post will coordinate with Wednesdays. So on Wednesday, you're going to see what I ended up using these tags for. Aren't they adorable though? I just love them. I think they came out so cute, and I really look forward to showing you how I'm going to use them. There is a new host code out, so please make sure to use that if you place an order with me. You can watch other videos here. You can order from me at loveandstampin.com, or there's links below this video. And I've also linked to the markers and the non-Stampin' Up! Products that I've used today. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the little circle with my face in it. And I hope you have an amazing, wonderful day. Talk to you soon.